I'm Felix Bendersky, and I'm here at the TRD Miami Forum with living legend Sam Nazarian, the creator of such brands as the SLS, SBE, Hyde, you name it, he's done it. I am super privileged and super honored to pick his brain today, and we're just gonna jump right into it. So you've been on my bucket list, of people I've always wanted to party with.
Wow.
So, and I heard you don't really party as much anymore, so that's not great for me.
When you turn 50 and have 3 kids, it's hard to do anything but get up early and hang out with them. But we get out after it every once in a while. But different type of, getting on a boat or getting on, going on a nice island, partying, but not like 30-year-old party,
right?
Like the old days.
So, first time I went into one of your hotels, Mario Stucco, who actually I ran into like 2 minutes ago, he said, you owe him a text, by the way.
Yeah.
He brought me in, and first time I walked into SLS, between seeing Philippe Starck design for the first time and seeing collaborations with Katsuya and Jose Andreas, I was super floored. Just to start off, how did you, obviously we know your background, how did you wind up getting into nightlife and hospitality?
Well, listen, I think it was a strategy at 25,
right?
When I was embarking and dabbling in real estate, and one of my first investments I made was in a hotel called the Viceroy.
Right.
It was about to be built in Santa Monica, which dates me back to 1999. And what I realized then, as a consumer of going to Ian Schrager's hotels and boutique hotels, and there was a very small lane of boutique hotels,
right,
which were embedded with F+B.
Right.
You went to these hotels in places you live, not just to stay there, which was really kind of the real interesting paradigm of what made a boutique hotel relevant was it replaced you coming to a hotel and you coming to the F+B of the hotel, so the community would come in there, and that really changed the game that Ian Schrager led and all these kind of great pioneers in hospitality and lifestyle. And so I realized quickly, if I wanted to be in the hotel business, which is really what my goal was, to build a brand like SLS, which I ultimately did, I needed to understand F+B, and that's what I did. So nightlife was the first, as I was getting my hotel company and my hotel team set up and the brand, I got into LA, which was really a sleepy town back then, kind of what it is now.
Right.
And we went in and bought the first nightclub, and the second, the third, and we got up to about 12 nightclubs.
Right.
In that process, we started building restaurant brands. And Katsuya was my first one, and then obviously I ended up meeting Jose Andres in 2004 in Bazaar.
He's incredible, isn't he?
Oh, he's a rock star. I met him when he had 3 restaurants and a regional James Beard in DC.
And now he's getting awards from the president and
not from this president, from the last president.
Definitely not from this president.
But I think the point being is F+B is, and I said this earlier on stage right now, is if you want to be in the hospitality business, you have to understand hospitality.
Right.
And at that time we had 2 main drivers. One was to tell people and developers that lifestyle hotels are here to stay,
right,
which back then was not an obvious.
Yep.
And number 2 was integrated food and beverage is something you can underwrite. And to do that, you have to have the expertise and the IP. So to me, it was always around building, which I used LA as my showroom.
Yep.
I had 65 properties in LA. SLS became our brand. We put the Bazaar in there, which was a game changer. Philippe Starck was my designer, which is like not only a designer, but my partner, really.
Right.
And then we launched globally, and we got up to 100 hotels.
And how old were you at the time?
I was 26 when I started the company.
Wow.
And then I sold the company at 44.
That's
insane. We had about a little under 12,000 employees in 9 countries.
Right. Now, with the whole Philippe Starck, and what made you decide to buy like the Morgan's Hotel? Like, what was it like something you had to have because it was so cool at the time, or was it something that you just wanted in your portfolio, or the deal was right?
I think it was a couple of things. At that point, SLS had become a real brand that was accelerating.
Right.
And then we had launched a second brand called Hyde Hotels, which ironically was a nightclub brand, and we had 3 residential towers here in Florida with Related. And when the Morgan's deal came to me, Morgan's at that time had 13 hotels in markets I wanted to either be in or I wanted to double down in. So what did that mean? I mean, that I had 2 hotels in Miami with the SLS and the Raleigh, and they had obviously Shore Club, they had the Mondrian, they had the Delano, so that was a great model. London had 3 hotels. I was desperately trying to get into London. So by acquiring them, I had 3 hotels in London. They had a big pipeline deal in Qatar, which they had really trouble with at that time in Doha. And I knew I could fix that before it opened, the Mondrian Doha, which we did and killed it. So it was really a strategic acquisition. And by buying them, Morgan's was too small of a company for the big hotel companies to focus on.
Right.
And it had decelerated brands like Mangiana, Delano was were next door, and so I knew I could retell the story of Mangiana and Delano with my F+B, and also with some positioning, and so that's why it made sense, and that's why we bought it. And overnight, it made us the largest lifestyle company in the world at that time with 27 hotels, and then it gave us global scale, and a pretty interesting pipeline, and it gave me a multi-brand approach. So when I go into a city, if I just do one SLS, I'm not done with the city. I can do multiple.
Of course.
That's ultimately what we did. That's why it made sense.
Right. So now with, obviously you get out, you sell, you're coming back into the market again. What have you found? Have you seen a lot of differences? Obviously, things like permitting maybe before and permitting now, obviously it might be two differently things. Are you seeing things are the same or longer?
It depends what city you're talking about.
Miami.
Miami specifically, I think everyone will agree, you have to be unbelievably hooked up with your own development team, and you get one thing wrong in construction costs or your assumptions, and like any part of the world, but Miami, just because there's so much velocity. I said there's more cranes in Miami-Dade County than the state of Florida. The state of California. More cranes in Miami-Dade County than the state of California. Just think about that. That just shows you the small little building department and in Miami-Dade or whatever, getting your permits or over the counter. You can understand whether it's a mess, right? And you have to take your hat off to them doing what they're doing as far as the city. I think the biggest thing I've seen being on the outside, and designing to what we're building now, is just the lack of innovation. There's brands that are great, like Citizen M, innovation. There are brands that are innovating, like they just sold to Marriott. So there are brands in different categories that I looked at, but they've all been acquired. Six Senses, it was a great idea. IHG bought them. Obviously my brand, things like that. So the Standard, now just being acquired by Hyatt. And so I really see that, as I said on stage, I'm not dying to go to any hotel. I'm not following any brand. I'm not saying, which to me is a real opportunity for not just me, but other hotels to come in and say, I have a point of view and I have a perspective. Airbnb has sucked a lot of the energy out of the room for millennials and Gen Z. And one of our platforms is focused around millennials and Gen Z, our new HQ platform.
That was kind of one of the things I was going to, touch on. So obviously there's a lot of private membership clubs, and I know with your new estate project, I feel that you're going after a lot of that clientele, because do you feel that people are just drinking less and maybe care more about wellness?
I think people are frustrated with healthcare as a whole. I think they're frustrated, but they don't know what to do. I'm just saying more macro, And when I decided to launch our luxury platform, the estate, I really made that as a foundation of what we're going to do. We're going to give that residential consumer something that they need and they want, and they're willing to pay whatever for, which is access to a better life. For 20 years, I gave them access to a funner life. Now it's access to a better life, and things that they're not. So the last 5 years, I've gone around the world looking at the right business model to do that, the right level of connectivity, the right platforms and partners, and most notably was Tony Robbins. And
I was going to say, did that just happen, or is that just...
I knew enough of what I needed and what I was curious about in human performance and peptides, and not even having a dashboard on my health. When I speak, I tell people everyone's got a dashboard on everything, Financial, your emails, your this, your calendar. But the most important thing where's all your blood tests? Where's all your health? Oh, my doctor has it. It's crazy when you think about it. Not that I'm a pillar of health, but I'm a lot healthier now than I was 2 years ago. So I think from that perspective, that was really the aha moment. And Tony, obviously, comes with 40 years of experience of understanding mental health, functional health, preventative health, reversal, and how to build a better version of yourself. And when he wrote a book called Life Force, which launched 3 and a half years ago, I read it, and it changed my life. Because I knew that was going to be the Bible of how we were going to build a luxury business. And that's what we did. Lucky enough, he agreed. And now he's my 20% partner in this business, and could not have been, he's the GOAT of GOATs. And then I also partnered with the GOAT of GOATs, Marc, addressing his world and his perspective and his brand and his connectivity. And so these are the people I'm surrounded with. I'm so blessed every day that I get to talk and be around these people, and they open up their world a little bit to me. like Philippe Stark did,
Right.
like Jose Andres did,
Right.
like all these guys. And then I add some value to that,
Right.
you know? And it's I was saying on stage, there's a real authentic personality to what we're selling.
Yep.
Because we know that people want to live a life, and they also want to have fun. They also want to have data. They also want to, be curious about peptides. They want to do, red light. They want to do cold plunge, but they also want to, know what is the science behind it. So that's what we built, and it's comprehensive. There's a membership model to our urban clinics,
Right.
I think to your point. So we have 4 clinics, longevity centers right now, that have the best hardware that you find in any Mayo clinic.
What are we doing for hospitality? What are we doing for restaurants?
So we have 11 residential hotel projects signed. So we're building estate residences and hotels all around the world. Miami, we're building 1,000 museum. We're doing a longevity center, which is announced. That'll be our 3rd in the state of Florida. And then we're going to be announcing 2 big boy residential projects.
Okay.
We're almost there. And a lot of it is kind of the noise. Listen, you walk around this conference, you see a lot of developers, you see a lot of launches, you see a lot of trying to get pre-sale.
Right.
And what we've done also is I think we have the solution of throwing pre-sales on its head by using the leverage and ecosystem of guys like Tony and Marc to sell directly into their ecosystem. And sitting with developers and saying, we can sell 40% out of the gate ourselves as a brand.
Yep.
And we're proving that out. Once we prove it out at scale, then we become the only brand that we're going to want to do it.
But what's there must be some kind of worry. Obviously, we've had a record amount of restaurant closures this year.
Oh my God.
And, do you think that maybe the market's overheating, or are we maybe going through some kind of reinvention or reset?
I said this when I sold my company in 2019.
Yep.
I had 12 hotels in this market. And I was one of the largest operators. And then obviously I had a 3-year non-compete.
Right.
And so I'd sit back, and then obviously that's when the market went on fire here. And I've been here when the market's gone on. I was here in 2004 when it was crazy, global recession. Then Zika and all the bullshit that we had to deal with. And we opened SLS South Beach, and that really was a game changer. And when I saw all this inbound traffic coming in for operators, and I said, wow, this is going to not end up well.
But the demand still outweighs the inventory.
The demand, I don't know if that's true.
In terms of restaurant operators, for example.
The demand of, you were saying, I think when people were deciding to build some of these restaurants, they were looking at Miami as a year-round destination.
Right.
Miami is not a year-round destination.
That is correct.
So their underwriting and their premise and their business plans and their debt and the equity, the size of these restaurants were designed in a very just like Dubai today.
Right.
So now they're seeing that now, right? So as I said up there, you have to be great to do good, in Miami.
Yeah.
You can't just be good to do good, And during the first couple of years of COVID, you just opened up a taco stand, you kill it.
Right.
So I think by that premise, you'll see a lot of the great operators here. Some of the restaurants don't make money. I mean, you know more than I do. So I think there is an oversupply, just in seat count, but there's an undersupply in great operators.
Right.
And that's the guys that will last through this. And whether it's premium QSR, all the way up to kind of 4 or 5 dining. And there's a couple, 3 or 4 operators that you know better than me that continue to overperform. And then there's a lot of mid-level guys who looked at this as an outlet. I live in Coconut Grove.
Right.
I mean, I live in Coral Gables, but my office is in the Grove.
Right.
And
Cocoa Walk.
and look how many restaurants have just gone under. And these are good brands.
Do you think because it's maybe the rent that now, I loved Coconut Grove 2-3 years ago, but now price is over $100 a foot. Does it make sense for a restaurant operator?
Well, I mean, prices, that's one base, and that's 10 to 20% of your cost structure is rent. Hopefully 10, but not 20, but that's what, to your point,
Right.
Labor, cost of goods, insurance, everything is gone through the roof. So you got to basically step up to the bat. You got to step up to the plate and hit a grand slam every time you open a place.
Right.
There's no room for error, and you have to be properly capitalized to withstand a ramp up. I mean, so my point being in the Grove is you have a lot of restaurants with $20 million build-outs.
Right.
I hope they make it. Some of them haven't already.
God, I get the keys back and we flip them to an operator that.
But restaurants are, the front of house is expensive to change.
Right.
The pre-opening, it's not just. I mean, maybe you know better than I do, but when you convert a restaurant, you have expenses.
Impact fees. I mean, it's $63 a foot. That, you know, so I mean, again, a lot of my clients, we last couple of years, because the permitting is so bad, we obviously go only second gen.
100%.
Moving like forward, I mean, obviously for new projects you have to build. What are you kind of doing to make sure that, you know, you're not missing something, or that do you find challenges in like overestimating or time-wise, especially with Miami, where politics.
I think Miami, you always have to be extra conservative in every driver of cost.
Yep.
Right? Whether it's duration of your project, underwriting, permitting, all the things you already know. But I think the upside, if you do well, is much higher than any other city. I really think that's why it's the most expensive city, because you have a customer here that's willing to pay for quality. So I do think that there is a saturation of super high-end product, but the high-end product that works is still doing exceptionally well. So I don't want to minimize that, right? But you know, like right now we just have Amazonica open.
Right.
That's another 30,000 feet. You know, you have all these places.
You know, with restaurants, obviously like Sexy Fish and like, you know, Amazonica, do you feel like because the trends and social media, everybody just wants to go there once, take a picture, and never go back there? And there's a good reason why.
This is Sexy Fish is part of an unbelievable network that is the UK. They're amazing operators, and they're doing the numbers. The problem is, are they making flow through EBITDA?
Right.
That's what you have to look at, right? Because top line, you know, like my old Katsuya at the SLS Brickell, right, now is a Gecko, right? They do numbers.
Yep.
But are they making? You know, the question is, how do you get to the flow through of paying your investors back?
Right.
That's EBITDA is the driver of business development, right?
I mean, you brought in concepts like, you know, Katsuya and Jose Andres. So, you know, you were originally one of the kings of great restaurants and hotels. Obviously, the last couple of years, do you feel that, you know, people, especially locals in Miami, maybe care less about the hotels in the restaurants and hotels? Is it maybe there hasn't been something as exciting as a Katsuya? Because what do we really have left, you know?
There's some great restaurants. Listen, our model is always put our restaurants in our hotels.
Right.
And to do that, you have to build restaurants, and that's what LA was. It was the showroom.
Right.
So when you integrate a hotel with F+B and experiences, that's why we have a restaurant company and entertainment company. Or, I mean, High Beach at SLS South Beach, you know, was doing $20 million until I sold the company.
Right.
And then
but I almost feel like at that time, that's when it stopped being cool.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, I don't know. I think, I mean, we had still a good team, but I think to your question about, you know, how do you build upon a great quality product and how do you have it sustained, ultimately goes back to the product itself and the differentiation and the value you're giving. You ask the question, if people come there just to take a picture and leave, there are those looky-loos, 100%, because they want to say, I'm at that cool place. But Sexy Fish or these other restaurants have come in and around, let's say, Brickell or Design District, or even in the Grove or in Coral Gables, the ones that are providing a value, now it could be an expensive value, but a value nonetheless, are still going to do good. Right. The problem is, there are very few of those guys.
Right. And again, you were the trendsetter on that.
Like Michael White opened up a restaurant in Mika.
Mika, sorry, the one.
Yeah, exactly. The one, exactly. I go there 10 times a year. Right. It's an amazing place.
Right.
Service, the quality, I mean, serious operator, serious chef, serious product. You know, Ceviche 105. Right. Another great local guy, right? Great story. Yeah. You know, his images, all amazing brand. Right. The guy does great. It's got a place in Miami.
But do you think those are more tourist driven? Like, do you think a lot of locals will go? Or
I think Coral Gables is all.
You know, Coral Gables Grove is 100% all locals.
You know, I think it goes back to Miami. Don't forget also in Miami when we started, there was no Brickell.
Right. There was no Wynwood. There was no design.
Right. So and people, the locals, they all had to go to the beach.
Right.
Now locals don't want to go to the beach.
Right.
Now they'd rather go to Brickell or Wynwood or Sunset Harbor or whatever. You know, their restaurants there.
Lincoln Road Roasted.
Exactly. You know? So that's also the dynamic has changed. Is that you had a captured audience on the beach. Everybody has to come there, namely locals, because locals have to support you when it's out of season.
Right.
And that's where I remember at our hotels we had locals coming in all the time.
Right.
With tourists. Right. With people staying in the hotel.
Right.
That's why we did well. Now they have 27 options of destinations they can go.
Right. Sam, wanted to thank you for being a legend.
I can talk to you all day. I got to go, but thank you so much.
But we got one more thing, a lightning round. 3 questions. All right? One word. Okay, number 1. This is F+B's lightning round. Question 1. Is a service charge a tip or a fee?
Fee.
Number 2. What restaurant?
What is it designed to do? It's supposed to be a tip.
In your opinion,
But what is it being executed
That's
at?
correct.
It is a fee.
It's a fee, not a tip.
It's not, operators are using it as a fee, not a tip.
Number 2, if you could bring any restaurant to Miami from LA or anywhere else, what would it be? What do you think Miami needs?
Oh man, I think Miami needs a great Persian restaurant.
Agreed.
As a Persian, we need a great Persian restaurant here.
Agreed. And last but not least, your top 3 Miami or Coconut Grove, Coral Gables restaurants. Your favorite?
Oh man. Well, I think holistically, I love the restaurants that are around my house. That's my kids love to go, right? So I told you Juan Mica is our new restaurant that we love to go. We love going to, Giuseppe. I love what they did at the top. If I want to go to like a fun dinner, I'll go to the top of Mr. C. And then Coco's a New Mexican restaurant.
Yep.
So those are the 3 I think about. But listen, there's so many great restaurants. We're going to a couple over the next couple weeks that I'm going to check out for the first time. We went to Neo's. That was great. That operator. And obviously Carbone Vino.
Right.
And
Can't go wrong.
Jeff and
you got El Bagel downstairs from your
El
place?
Bagel. We got an El Bagel too. Yes. My world has shrunk a little bit.
Right.
From the house to the office to the kids' practice. But there's still some great opportunities in Miami for great brands. We're going to be bringing some in the next 3 or 4 years as well. So.
I'm super excited. I cannot wait. This is Felix Bendersky at the TRD Miami. Special shout out to BHS. Thank you for the sponsors. Sam Nazarian, living legend. Super grateful, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much.